Honorable Deputy Chief Minister of Punjab, Shri Sukhbir Singh Badal ji, Honorable Minister for Tourism Punjab, Shri Hira Singh Gabaria ji, Honorable Member of Parliament from Amritsar, a man who wears many turbans, a commentator, a TV personality, and a parliamentarian, Shri Navjot Singh Sidhu ji, members of the press, President FHRAI, Executive Committee members of FHRAI, Managing Committee members of HRANI, members of the Organizing Committee, fellow delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is my proud privilege and honor to welcome you all to the holy city of Amritsar for the first HRANI convention. HRANI was founded by the legendary hotelier Rai Bahadur M.S. Oberoi, who sowed the seeds of tourism in the country in 1950. It was founded to help the industry grow with just 27 members, thus putting the hotel and restaurant business on an organized platform. Today, over 1,500 hotels, restaurants, travel agents, tour operators, manufacturers from Delhi, Chandigarh, Haryana, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, and Jammu and Kashmir are our members or associate members. Those establishments which are not functional can also become associate members and use the services of the association. The credit of the association's growth goes to all its past presidents, from the late Lala Ram Prasad ji to his son Shri Rajendra Kumar ji, Shri Lalit Narula, Arun Khanna, Shri Manbir Chaudhary ji, Shri B.K. Gupta ji, and Shri Vijay Pandey. The industry in India is going through challenging times. Improvement in infrastructure in many areas, along with the economic growth of the past few years, has resulted in an increase in hotel rooms and both foreign and domestic travel. We therefore need to look and think of what lies ahead. To enable us to gear ourselves for 2020, we need to look at both what we need to do and what we expect our government to do. I am indeed grateful to Shri Sukhbir Singh ji for all his support and being here with us, without which it would not have been possible to hold this convention. No single aspect of travel and tourism can succeed without increasing cooperation between the government and the private sector. To move forward, we need the public and the private sector leaders, the local communities, and the media to work together to find effective ways to tap into the true potential of the industry. It saddens me when I look at the neighboring countries like Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, and China and compare their tourist arrival figures to ours. Is it there on the screen? Huh? Is this figure on? If you see China 55.98 million, Malaysia 24.6 million, Thailand 15.8 million, Singapore 11.6 million, Indonesia 7.3 million, 0.3 million, Sri Lanka 6.5 million, India 5.58 million. Next slide. Even our most famous tourist site, the Taj Mahal, has 3.2 million visitors as compared to the Great Wall of China, which has 10 million visitors. Our great beach resort, Goa, with 40 beaches, has just 2.7 million tourists as compared to Phuket Beach Resort in Thailand, which gets 5.0 million visitors with 17 beaches. Also, Hampi, one of the famous temple complexes in South India, gets 8 lakh domestic tourists and only 25,000 foreign tourists as compared to Angkor Wat, the famous temple complex in Cambodia, which gets over 2 million domestic and foreign tourists combined. The reason I'm making these comparisons is to show that we are still far behind and can get many more visitors with the right efforts. If you look at the table to show the foreign tourists and the domestic tourists in our top 10 states, we will see the following. You can see that the domestic tourist plays a very important part in this. The first 5 states are part of a northern region, and while Uttarakhand has 30.2 million domestic tourists, Himachal shows 4.5 million foreign tourists. These are the figures of the Ministry of Tourism, and it shows the growth of domestic tourism. Punjab does 13 million and is 14th in the list, so it's not here, but it is 13 million and fast growing. India attracts the highest tourist spending compared to other countries. In India, a tourist spends up to $2,200 compared to advanced countries where they spend $1,100 only. This is because tourist spends longer time in our country, buys our product, travels the length and breadth of our land, and eventually gives us more money. If you look at our industry's employment generating capacity in comparison to the agriculture sector or the manufacturing sector, our true potential is highlighted. While industry, 10 lakh rupees of investment gives 18 employees in manufacturing, 45 in agriculture, 78 is in travel and tourism. We have provided 11 million jobs in the last 6 years, and by 2020, travel and tourism can create additional 37 million jobs out of the 120 million jobs that are predicted. Therefore, our industry can help to elevate poverty by providing jobs, skills, enabling our people to live their life with dignity. An absence of basic infrastructure, most hotels have to provide their own power backup, water supply, treatment, sanitation, and transport. And perhaps the world's slowest and most opaque government approval process. According to ICRA, starting a new hotel in India requires clearances from roughly 40 central and state agencies and 110 licenses. When we look at the scenario in India, we have 1.30 lakh classified rooms in India, which is going up to 1.5 lakhs. And if you compare it to China, China has 15 lakh hotel rooms. USA has 54 lakh hotel rooms for a population of 307. The reason other countries like America, China, USA, Thailand have cheaper hotel rooms is because the cost of product is relatively low due to the easy financing, available and cheap infrastructure, power, water, public transport, sanitation, and a relatively quick and transparent government approval process. Gujarat has taken the lead and made FSI its FSI 5, while in other states it means 2 to 2.25. To increase the volumes of tourists, we require low budget and mid-segment hotels. Hotels cannot be built in isolated areas. They have to be built where the action is. They can be built near the tourist sites where the business is or the heart of the cities, except in those cities where cheap and fast public transport is available. Therefore, the government needs to look at all these factors to enable us to get land on long-term lease with higher FSI. The largest property owners or landlords today are the state and central government and their various agencies. Many of their buildings built in good locations are lying either in bad conditions or occupied by offices which can easily be shifted, and the buildings converted to budget and mid-segment hotels, earning further revenue to the departments as well as for the state. It is important that the taxation structure is made simple. Instead of concentrating on increasing taxes on hoteliers, the government should look at increasing the volume of traffic to earn higher revenues. Taxation is a subject that causes a lot of heartburn in the industry, and I will come to it a little more later, sir. Single window clearance for quick and transparent process is necessary and can be done by forming a committee of state and central officials for approving projects. It is important that the existing hoteliers are encouraged by giving them benefits that help them to face competition, by giving them low interest loans to renovate or upgrade their properties. Hotels willing to do this should be granted the same tax benefits as the new projects, as it helps in providing better infrastructure for the city. While making policies for seasonal destinations, the limited season must be kept in mind, and the government should offer them benefits like lower tax and electricity tariffs during the off-seasons. Standalone restaurants are an important part of our business and are also the most ignored. They are plagued by numerous licensing needs, restrictive operational timings, and in many states a strict and opaque excise policy where getting licensed to sell alcohol is a nightmare. Apart from this, the numerous clearances require numerous visits from inspectors, and together with unclear and opaque policies, it makes it very difficult for a restaurateur to function smoothly. While we request the state and center to look into our problems and solve them, we too ourselves need to look and see what we can do to face the challenges ahead. 5 million tourists visit India and 10 million Indians go abroad. We need to analyze this. Cheaper fares, better hotel rates have made our neighboring countries a challenge for us. If Bangkok, Malaysia, Singapore, Hong Kong are going to be cheaper than our domestic destinations, we will lose the business. Those going to Bangkok for FHRI convention must see the infrastructure there, the hygiene levels, the service levels, the rates charged there, to see for themselves the competition we are facing. Our hygienic levels are pathetic and our roads are terrible. And though we may not be able to do anything about our roads, our state and city associations must get together with the NGOs and the government to clean up at least our monuments, sites of tourist attractions, main city centers, airports, railway stations, and at least make the people more aware of their surroundings. Some of the finest hotels in the 5-star category do exist in India. comparable to the best in the world in terms of service and standards. However, we need to look at our budget and mixed segment hotels, especially those that are run as a single unit managed by one family. In the past, competition arose only in the 4 and 5-star hotels. Now, hotels like Ginger, Red Fox, Ibis have made the mark in the budget categories. So the competition is going to increase. Mercury's, Fortune, Lemon Tree, Servo, Parkins are there in the mid-segment and upscale segments. Competition is going to get tougher. Therefore, we need to relook at our product and gear ourselves to meet the challenges ahead. We need to train our staff and not shy away from making use of various training programs with the fear that we will lose the staff. The customer with the reach of television and cheap travel available is definitely more knowledgeable and has high expectations. We need to gear ourselves to meet that. I am continuously amazed that some of our 1 and 2-star hotels offer full room service with dirty trays coming into the room while the guest waits for 40 to 50 minutes before the order is delivered. Is there a need for 1, 2 and 3-star hotels to provide room service 24 hours? Many European and American hotels of this segment provide only breakfast to guests during the day. They have vending machines and some even allow food delivery from outside to the rooms or in suitable locations outsource the F&B operations. Therefore, we need to think not with our heart, but with our minds to ready ourselves to compete with the best in our categories in the future. We have many sessions planned for you tomorrow. Experts will talk about best marketing practices, advantage of franchising and branding, crunch in the human resource, Food Safety Act, profits from F&B, green hotels, and most important in today's climate, the safety aspect of hotels. Terrorism cannot be just wished away, and in today's time, we all need to learn to be conscious of safety and security much more than we have in the past. We also have a representative from United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime to sanitize us against drugs and other crimes that have an impact on tourism. Therefore, it is necessary for all of us to attend such conventions and meetings and prepare ourselves for the future. I would like to welcome you all to the HRNI convention. It is my proud privilege and honor to be the president of this association when it is hosting its first convention. I would like you to take full advantage of it, attend all the sessions, and interact with the industry experts and the government officials which will be present there during the session tomorrow. May I also thank Shri Sukhbir Singh Ji for coming here in spite of a cabinet meeting in the morning and an important engagement in the evening. The fact, sir, that you chose not to cancel your visit here but requested us to change the time so that you could be here shows your commitment and interest in the tourism and travel trade. Thank you, sir. We would also like to thank the Minister for Tourism, Punjab, and Shri Navjot Singh Sindhu Ji for being here with us. Hotels and restaurants in Punjab have played the due role in the growth of Punjab economy. However, their businesses cannot be compared to those that are in the metro cities. Though it is true that both hotels and restaurants command a very high price in the metro cities, the same price cannot be got in the cities of Punjab and other states. Therefore, high taxation in 5-star restaurants or 4-star hotels and down the line is because we compare them to the 5-star hotels in Delhi and Bombay is not very just. We are now imposed by the central government a service tax. We have taken up the matter. We requested the central ministers to reduce that. Unfortunately, we did not, our Minister of Tourism did take us to the finance minister, but somehow we could not get any success. We are now in the court where we have challenged the imposition of service tax on our industry. The only request, sir, that I have from you is that if VAT can be lowered to 5% instead of 12.5% for our hotels and restaurants here, so that the main sector, our mainstream people can get some benefit out of it. They struggle very hard, they work very hard. If you can let go of the credit, we will let go of the credit if you can reduce the VAT from 13% to 5% or 4% as it is in other states, in our neighboring states. That is the only request. I know, and I want to tell my fellow delegates, to get a tax relief from the government is tougher than getting a recipe out of your chef. But we hope, and we do hope, that the Honorable Deputy Chief Minister who's here would be able to throw some light on this. May I thank you all once again for sparing some time and being here with us. Thank you.